Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to this day about building skills and specifically adults in the workforce. My name is Betty Rhoades. I'm the executive director of the HillVets Foundation. We are a nonprofit here in Washington, D.C., that serves the veteran, service member, and supporter community here in our nation's capital. And we do that with opportunity, mentorship, housing, peer support, and training, all in service to that pursuit of continued service in government. So we're excited to have you here today. This session, the goal is to examine how adults can leverage their work experience alongside institutional learning to efficiently advance their careers or change their careers. So we're going to be speaking with the co-CEO of Merit America and also a recent Merit America participant. And we're going to talk about topics like skills-based assessments and credit, job retraining, and flexible pathways for adult workers who are seeking to advance their careers. So I am going to give our panelists a chance to introduce themselves. So we'll start with Connor.
Great. Thank you so much, and huge thank you to College Promise for convening this panel and allowing us to be a part of it. My name is Connor Diemand-Yauman. I'm the co-CEO of Merit America, joined by my badass partner Toya, who is a graduate participant in Merit America. And yeah, at Merit America, we are preparing low-wage workers for skilled careers at scale. We focus on hardworking, inspired Americans who don't have a bachelor's degree, and we prepare them for careers in IT, advanced manufacturing, and healthcare. Prior to this, I co-founded an organization called Philanthropy University, which trained nonprofits at scale. And before that, I was one of the early employees at Coursera, where I met my now co-CEO, Rebecca Tabor.
Thank you for being here, Connor. And Toya, what about you?
My name is Toya Pokolo, and I graduated from Merit America in December 2018 as part of their second cohort. And I joined just looking for a different opportunity, a better opportunity than I thought I had. And I believe that Merit America provided that for me. Right now, I'm currently working full time at Intake Technology, which is a IT consulting firm, and I am a IT consultant with them.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Toya. We're really excited to have you both, and we can just launch right into it. So, our first question, let me set it up for you. So much of the infrastructure of higher ed has been built to be sort of linear and unidirectional. So, moving students from high school through college to a career. But increasingly, adults are re-engaging with that higher education system at any number of different points throughout their careers. So, Connor, we'll start with you. What are the most important opportunities to create for adult learners? And unlike recent high school graduates, how can colleges and institutions capitalize and build upon the skills and experiences that adults already have in their arsenal?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the biggest opportunities when we're thinking about adult learners is making it clear that a path exists, right? Like, we do not make it easy on adult learners. In this country, we invest our training dollars, our education dollars in K through 12. And the implicit statement that we're making to middle skill, low wage workers across the country, folks without a bachelor's degree, is, we may not have supported you. You might be, low wage. The best outcome, the best thing we can do for you is we can help train your children. I mean, that's really what we're telling by our chronic underinvestment in this segment. And I think consequently, what's happened is that a number of talented Americans across the country don't know what pathways there are And I'd actually be interested, to hear from Toya, like, what what were you considering before Merit America? Because I think one of the big things that we find is that folks come to Merit America because they they don't know what could be. They don't know what could come next. And Merit America, what we're focused on is not only providing you skills, but also that pathway to that opportunity. So I think that's a big I think that's a big part of it. Charting really clear pathways for individuals, and how they can how they can attain that next opportunity. I think another thing that we can do for adult learners is um, to focus on their communities, the people who they interact with regularly, and to allow them to see the opportunities that exist with people who are like them, because it can be really hard. It's like, you know, to just pick a random person in the country, an worker, and to say, figure out how to become a cybersecurity specialist or a data scientist. I mean, it is a dizzying, complex task. And so I think as much as we can allow learners to see themselves and others who have made this jump is really valuable. But at the end of the day, the best thing that we can do for learners is we can provide them with the skills, and we can provide them with the exposure to the people who are hiring. And we found that if you do that, if you pick people who are willing to put the work in, and you provide them with the skills, and then you put them in front of the right employers, I mean, you can really set people up.
I like what you're saying, that it's not just an investment in the actual building of the skills, but it's also a messaging component in terms of letting adult learners know that, we care about your education and your direction that you want to take. That's really interesting. Toya, what's your take on this question?
I completely agree with Connor, and I also would like to add that along with that pathway, is good to know that along that path is not necessarily a start over. And I think that's what scares people sometimes, and that kind of what scared me sometimes when I was going through this. Is like, I don't want to start over, but it's not a start over. They're really just picking up from where I left off and enhancing the skills that I already have and adding more skills to that. So I think that is a great opportunity for adults to know that it's not necessarily a start over, because it's a little scary when you say, oh, you have to start from the beginning, but you're not starting from the beginning. You're learning new things, which you will always do as you grow in life, but you're also getting your skills that you already know enhanced as well.
I love that, Toya, and that's actually reinforced by Opportunity at Work has done some great research on this fact that there are tens of millions of skilled Americans who have the skills today that can translate into 40-50% wage gains. In other words, it doesn't have to be a starting over. They have the skills that they need to succeed in these roles, and so much of it is just understanding how to translate that. But again, so much of the opportunity to do that, it comes from your community, it comes from your network. These things are learned from watching other people do it or hearing how to do it. And so we can't, I think we can't underinvest or underestimate that fact, how communal a lot of this is driven. And then the final thing I'll say, building on Toya, is that there's a huge mindset shift as well. I mean, with many low wage workers across the country, they have been programmed to think that that's not a job for me. That's for other people. That's not accessible to someone like me. And anything that we can do to engender the mindset, um, to propel someone to that next opportunity is really powerful. And I know it can sound fluffy, but so many of our learners at the end of the program, they report that that's one of the most impactful aspects of the program. It's that they realize, oh wow, I am that kind of person. I do have what it takes, and it's hard to know that, um, without something like that, without an intervention like that.
Yeah, that's all so great to hear. It's really interesting too because I know in the veteran community, you know, skills translation is a huge conversation, and trying to open up people's minds to the skills that you already have and how to maybe reframe them for a different industry or a different path. Um, but I love, Toya, what you said about that it's not starting over,
Mhm.
because that is part of that mind frame shift, that mindset shift, Connor, that you mentioned. Um, do you have any thoughts on kind of the secret sauce, or the kind of real big ticket items in terms of specifically focusing on the skills that adult learners already have, and uh, how you can work with that? Is that something specifically that um, that Merit America really focuses on? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's a couple ways to think about this. I think one is kind of rebranding, right? So rebranding skills that you have. So in the veteran community, a lot of veterans, they'll be applying for a role and it'll ask like, do you have management experience? And they'll be like, no, technically I don't. What do you mean? You manage a platoon of 20? Like, what do you mean you don't have yeah, that's real management experience, that counts. And so I think that translation is really important. But then there's also kind of like an incremental gain where it's like you're doing something and you don't realize that you're able to build upon that skill, whether it's a soft skill or a hard technical skill in a way that's relevant to the job. Both are really important, and both are, I think, can be hard to cultivate without really solid coaching. And if I had to say what is the secret sauce for Merit America across the board, but also specifically for this um, skill translation and skill rebranding, it is it is coaching. It is intrusive, intentional coaching. Ideally, with individuals who have backgrounds similar to the people they're coaching, but it's not doesn't necessarily have to be the case. But someone who really understands the individual and is willing to push them on these um, on these topics, we found is the number one priority.
So that's sort of a good segue into my next question. So, Connor, what initiatives, in addition to coaching, has Merit America supported or worked with, to help adults both attain and maintain success in the workforce?
Yeah. So in terms of just like other parts of our program,
Just, yeah, any initiatives that you've uh, supported or done on your own, or worked with in other organizations. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
broad question there.
Yeah. So I mean, we do a lot. So much of our work is focused on that. All of our learners are have access to an alumni coach and a in program coach. So you have a coach when you're in program. Then when you graduate and you're trying to get placed, you're with a coach, and then we try to cultivate this sense of community with those learners. And I think that's a really important part of that as well. We also, for learners in our program, we we recognize that some of the greatest challenges to completing our program and to really going up the ladder and making a transformational change in your life is due to super mundane, seemingly minor things like, oh, you have to pick up your kids, or like you have to pay a parking ticket, or there's or like a global pandemic hits, whatever that, like, whatever it is, these things come up, life happens,
Right.
and it really gets in the way of this type of learning. And so we have a number of initiatives. We just launched an initiative with the city of Sacramento where we're giving devices and stipends. We give all of our learners, across the country, access to an optional stipend to help pay for some of these obstacles or relieve some of these obstacles that come up. Um, and and then in addition to that, we are continually investing in our alumni community and trying to figure out ways that they can stay engaged, if for no other reason to pay it forward and create the community that didn't exist for many of our learners in the first place. So those are a few things that come to mind.
You're so speaking my language, Connor, because HillVets does a lot of the same things in terms of really nurturing community, encouraging our
Yeah.
program alums to pay it forward, to give back, to mentor new people coming through the program, and eliminating obstacles
Yeah.
for veterans to come to the Hill and work. There are a lot of obstacles, many of them are financial. So I love that you're tackling that as well because real life is all around us and you don't always get to make the schedule or say what you're going to engage in. Things come up. Um, so Toya, how did Merit America change your view of going to school and kind of what made it a good fit with you and Merit America and how did they help you navigate what you were dealing with?
Well, it was at a point in my life where I thought I just could not move in the career I was in. I was in the banking career for about 13 years and I felt I was stuck. And I just Googled and I was looking for things, something to do where I did not have to have a degree because I did not have one. And that's how Merit America came up and didn't believe it at all. And it seemed like it was too good to be true. But once I got accepted into the program, it's just they were teaching me things that I didn't learn in the few years that I did go to college. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I stuck with it because um, the program was different than anything I've ever encountered. Previously to that, they have adult learning courses at, I think, American University and George Mason University that I was Googling as well. And when you look at the cost of the programs at those universities versus Merit America was just extremely different. And you don't get your certificates. You're just I know with George Mason you don't get your certificates. You just get the teaching. And then you have to find your own job, which at Merit America you do have to find your own job, but they help you with everything that you need, which you don't have an excuse not to go out there and look for a job. And so I think that's one of the reasons that really prompted me to stick with the program because it's different from any education that I've ever had before.
It sounds like it was, much more tailored to you as an
Yeah.
individual.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
that
And
that makes all the difference.
right. And the coaching as Connor has talked about already, that is really like I would not have been able to do it without my coach. It's I couldn't imagine going from one industry to another industry without any help. I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have been just stuck like sending out resumes and not getting answers because my resumes weren't tailored to the job I was looking for. They were already tailored to the job that I already had that I didn't want anymore.
Yeah. So are there any other sort of specific things that really stand out to you that Merit America taught you or helped you with that you think, just made a really big difference and maybe you wouldn't have gotten anywhere else?
I think one of the things that really stuck out to me was our networking sessions, and I didn't know how important networking was. I didn't know how important it was to speak about yourself and go and talk to others that are in the field, even though you're not in that field, to go have conversations with people who are in that field. And I didn't think that I would be able to have conversations with people because I wasn't in IT. So
Mhm.
how can I have conversations with them if I'm not in this field? But Merit America really taught me the importance of networking. Even even if I didn't have the job, speak about it, talk about my skills, talk about the skills that I have, talk about my skills that are transferable. And I think that was really important.
No, that's critical. I miss in-person networking so much. And it sounds so wonky, but it's all just it's about people. It's about talking to people about what
Mhm.
they do, what they love about what they do, and then what you can offer. Um, That's fantastic, and networking is a skill that you have to practice, so that's fantastic that
It
you
is.
felt
Yes.
that you were supported and that you had that practice. That's awesome. So follow-up for you, Toya. So there's a growing body of work that, recommends more intrusive supportive guidance for adult learners, adult students. Do you feel like that's something that you needed, that other adult learners might need?
I do believe. I do believe that it's something I needed. I believe that patience is something that's needed as well. Because when you're, for me, I can't speak for other people, but I was different out of high school. Like, I didn't have to pay rent. I didn't have to, pay for groceries. My parents did all of that. But then when you get older and you have responsibilities, you get like I was terrified. Like I can't leave the job that I have and go into some other field that I know nothing about because how am I going to pay rent? What if I don't get a job? What if I don't, what if I can't make it or anything like that? And I think the push is what I needed. That confidence that somebody else had in me helped me to gain confidence in myself. And I think that is what a lot of adult learners need because a lot of us are just like, might as well. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'll just keep doing it until I retire. Uh, doesn't matter, But if we don't get that push, some of us will not move or do anything. So I think that it really is needed.
Yeah, I
That's
love
great,
that.
yeah.
And that really hits on, Toya, why Merit America exists. When you look around um, the workforce development landscape, you'll see that the majority of programs are not designed for working adults. These are full-time immersives where you need to, leave your job and your other obligations. And we we saw a real opportunity and need for the 70 million plus working adults without a bachelor's degrees who not only have jobs but have kids and have obligations and need to socially distance and need to do just an insane number of things and have no time for education. And so how do we fit it in a way that meets them where they're at? And just yeah, Troy, I'm glad you raised that because that's that's one of our core differentiators. How can we allow people to maintain their current obligations and build a life for themselves in the process?
It is so scary to make that jump, when ultimately you know that at the end of the day, you have to still provide for yourself and your family.
Yeah,
So that confidence building piece is so critical, and it sounds like the Merit America community is just a really great resource to have for that. And I think a lot of times also, we've all sort of heard a lot more lately about imposter syndrome in terms of, oh, I could never do that, or, that's not for me. But that's all, a lot of that is just in our heads. And so it sounds like Connor that Merit America, really provides that sort of all encompassing support to help break through that.
yeah, that's right. It is the support, it's the intrusive coaching, it's also right sized curriculum,
Hmm.
and really smart selection of incredible people like Toya, who are ready and excited and able to put the time in. Um, but yeah, that really is um, it's a difficult thing to construct. Something that is both impactful, transformative, and deep in terms of its learning and impact, but also flexible. Something that fits into people's day to day.
Right. Well, that again, kind of a good transition to my next question. So, accelerated training, exists kind of, all across the country in a variety of different formats, and some organizations don't have those results or those placement rates or those sort of metrics for success. So, how does Merit America do it? How do you succeed where some others can't? And why do employers hire your students?
Hmm. I think there's a few things. First of all, find when you find individuals like Toya, like half the work is done. um, you'd be crazy not to hire this woman. So I think that there are a few things. It genuinely does come down to selection. It comes down to really understanding what are the predictors, what are the proxies for success, and how can we apply those to identify the learners who we think are most poised for the transformation, for that transformation. And so our recruitment and selection and kind of continually iterating on that selection process, testing whether or not the proxies are indeed correlated with long-term success are really important. Um, in in the training itself, I think it is the um, the coaching first and foremost, and I think also being really smart about curriculum. There's a real temptation to think that you need to build the curriculum from the ground up and you need to do a lot of bespoke things for companies, and what we find is that there's just so much content out there, and by tapping into pre-existing content, like with our partner Google, that has incredible content that we use, uh, you're able to maintain a real standard of quality and not blow your costs out of the water, which really allows you to scale. I think that's really important as well. Um, I think that on the other end, working with the right employers is really important. I mean, we really vet our employers, and we work with some phenomenal organizations like Amazon and Infosys, Stanley Black and Decker, J.P. Morgan Chase. These are organizations that have diversity, equity, and inclusion at their forefront of their strategy. These are organizations that understand and appreciate the value of unbachelored workers. These
Mhm.
are these are organizations that are trying to stamp out degree discrimination and trying to look more for skills for the roles. And I think just generally very progressive in thinking of alternative of imagining alternative talent pipelines. So all of those play really important roles, and I think they all they seem pretty straightforward independently, and when you put them together, that constellation leads to exceptional talent like Toya, um, with the with the transformative impact and results that she's experiencing. But it's a lot of different. There's a lot of different pieces to that puzzle.
Yeah. Are you finding that more and more employers are putting those things you mentioned, into practice, and trying to be more diverse and inclusive and not engage in that degree discrimination? Are you finding that that trend is continuing, increasing?
Yeah, I think that given how front of mind issues of uh, diversity, equity, inclusion are just in the space, I think that organizations are more aware than ever that this is an issue. Um, I think that it tends to be more focused on race. So I think, and despite I think the renewed interest and emphasis on race, I think many organizations, not most, I'll say many organizations are still very racist, and we need to address that. Um, and I think that a lot of organizations don't realize that this degree discrimination is a real thing, and that when you uh, that degree discrimination is actually a proxy for racial discrimination, because when you say we're not taking folks out of bachelor's degree, you are also saying that you're not going to take the majority of Latinx and Black Americans. And you could never imagine someone saying, well, we're not going to take people who are Black or Latinx. But you see all the time job descriptions that say we will only take people with a bachelor's discrimination. So I think that issue is still burgeoning. I think that people are still really understanding why it's not okay and why we need to do better, why we can't be so lazy when we're hiring. Um, uh, but yeah, but we are making progress, and I think that once organizations do realize this, we've just been so impressed with how quickly they coalesce around a vision of a new form of talent.
That's great. Yeah, that's great that they're willing to, engage and improve in that way. So Toya, do you feel like you're gonna have the same promotion potential as your peers at your new job? And would you consider yourself now kind of on a clearer career path?
Yes, I do believe that I do have the same opportunity that my peers do have, and I am on a clear career path. The job that I have, which is wonderful, is kind of reminds me. The recruitment kind of reminded me of Merit America, and I think that's probably kind of how I was able to get through that training as well. And we're all considered the same. The consultants, we're all on projects. I'm on projects with senior consultants, and since IT changes drastically, they have questions as well, so we don't all know everything, and I do feel that I have the same opportunities that they have as well.
It and it sounds like that was not something that you were feeling at your in your previous role.
Not whatsoever.
Okay.
Everyone in my previous role in banking who were VPs or officers all had degrees.
Mhm.
And that's not the case here. At my job, the CEO of Intact Technology does not have a degree.
That's
That's awesome.
it's just
I didn't know that. Well, that's great.
it's just another example of like representation matters. And seeing people with similar experiences, in places that you aspire to be, it makes a world of difference. That's such a great thing to hear. Um, I had a follow-up question and now I'm sort of struggling to put words to it. Is there, for Toya, was there any sort of part of the Merit America process that surprised you or, that you enjoyed more than you thought or vice versa, or kind of, just a fun, anecdote about something that really made an impact on you?
Um, I was surprised. I wouldn't say it was I can't say it was nothing wrong with it, but I was surprised that I was the only female in my cohort. I thought there would have been more women. However, as doing research, I found out that there's not a lot of women in IT, and so I had a lot of fun in my cohort. I love my newfound brothers, so we had a good time. But I was they spoiled me.
Well, it sounds like you have a recruitment task now ahead of you, Toya, is
Yes,
to get, some more women, involved and taking this path like you did.
that would be
Um,
wonderful.
and, listen, as a woman who's worked in the veteran and military community for 15 plus years, I hear you, because I've definitely had some rooms where I was the only woman there, but, it's not always a bad thing.
Right.
Um, Connor, what about you? Is there kind of a piece of, as you've been building your programs with Merit America and as you've been expanding, anything that's surprised you or, that's noteworthy that's top of mind that maybe people wouldn't otherwise know?
I think that um, I am continually blown away by the stories of our learners, and I think that is the one thing that I'm continually impressed and humbled by. Uh, when I think about the difficulty of our program, the intensity of our program, and not only the success of our learners, but the success of our learners in spite of so many challenges that many of them face, and to varying degrees, but just I just I find a continual spring of energy um, and inspiration from learners like Toya, and so that's why I'm just pleased as punch that she could be on the call with us.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I imagine many sources of inspiration there. Um, so in closing, I would like to offer each of you the opportunity to kind of offer either a reflection or a piece of advice to our audience, or something you'd like them to think about or to know. Toya, we'll start with you.
I don't know if I necessarily have a piece of advice, but just an appreciation of having opportunities as as an adult learner. There were not many for me at all with somebody who didn't have a bachelor's degree. And so I do appreciate that they're coming forward and coming forth and knowing that there are people out there who did not go the traditional route and getting a degree, but can offer the same, if not, more valuable, information to anything that is presented to them. So I do appreciate that opportunity, and I'm thankful that these programs are coming forth.
Well, thank you so much for speaking about your experience, because I know that will definitely help others in similar shoes. Connor, what about you? Reflection, advice, anything you'd like people to know about Merit America or where they can go for more info?
Yeah. For more info, you can go to our website, meritamerica.org, and you can also email me directly. I'm Connor at CONNOR at meritamerica.org. Um, and we'd love to connect with you, learn from you. So please do reach out. I think, in terms of advice or parting reflections, I think just a couple things. One is, I know that diverse hiring is can be difficult. I know that considering alternative talent pipelines can be trying and expensive and frustrating. But I just encourage everyone to make the investment and to not assume that the difficulty that might come from sourcing Black talent means that, or diverse talent, that the talent isn't there. It just has to, you have to expand, you have to look for new pathways. You need to find new channels that are different from what we've been accustomed to after several decades. So really challenge yourself and your teams. And I think specifically one way you can start is dog food your hiring process. Go through, if you're a CEO of an organization, when was it like when was the last time you looked at what a new candidate goes through or how new candidates are sourced? Um, we so often find incredible, inspired leadership at the top, but they are completely divorced from what's going on the ground, and the narrow-mindedness or the racism or the lack of understanding or knowledge that exists lower down in the ranks of an organization. So I think it's really important for leaders to understand that. And then I would say, in addition to that, look internally. Look at individuals who might come have alternative backgrounds or have been skilled up by alternative routes, and encourage their upward mobility, encourage new opportunities, and I think that working internally and working with individuals who are already in your ecosystem can actually help inform your recruitment and sourcing strategy outside the organization as well. But
I love that.
the most important tip is work with Merit America. We've got your back. We'd love to support you if we can.
I love that, and I love that, the employers and the folks looking for talent, you've gotta do some work on your end too. Nothing great ever came easy, so you need to do the work of, like you said, looking at your internal processes and procedures, and also, expanding your mind in terms of what might be out there. I think that's great advice. Um, Well, and from my end, certainly if folks are interested in what we're doing in the veteran and military community in terms of getting folks who are interested in policy on the ground and into those positions, you can check out hillvets.org, HILLVETS.org. Um, we are always excited to chat with folks who might be interested in that. I want to thank Connor and Toya for being here today at the Careers Institute. And I want to thank College Promise, of course. So, day 3 is going to be focused on the promise of college and career. So, Martha Cantor is going to kick off the day. And we're also going to hear from the Kresge Foundation, leaders from a variety of different promise programs, and students. The most fun part is hearing from students. So, thanks to everybody for joining us and really appreciate it.
Thanks, Betty. Thanks for
Thank
having us.
you.
Bye, team.
Bye.